Good morning, everyone, and our esteemed faculty list here. On behalf of the RICS School of Built Environment, the faculty membership, and the SLING group that we call the Student Learning Innovation Networking Group, we all welcome you, sir, to this dash and for this lecture. It's a great privilege here to introduce such an esteemed faculty to this university. Dr. Makarand Hastak has been involved with the construction industry for the past 24 years, where he has conducted research, taught and assisted industry in the area of construction, engineering and management, including disaster risk reduction. Well, infrastructure management, control, cost control, project management, management decision making, risk management and strategic planning. Well, Dr. Hastak has established a research lab at Purdue University called SPARK. Well, SPARK is basically all about solutions for profitability and assessment of risk in the construction. Sir, I would like you to know that all the students, most of them from the School of Construction, are here at your disposal, sir. Further on, his group at the SPARK Lab has engaged in cutting-edge research in these areas funded by several federal, state, and private agencies. Dr. Hastak has authorized and co-authored over 120 publications. He has published a book on infrastructure planning handbook, planning, engineering, and economics as a co-author with Dr. Alvin Goodman. He serves as the editor-in-chief at the ASCE Journal of Management in Engineering and was the chair of the National Consortium of Housing Research Centers. Dr. Makarand Hastak is currently the professor and the head of Division of Construction Engineering and Management at Purdue University. Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming with us. And on that note, I would like to invite our Professor Anil Sani, sir, to share a few words about Dr. Makarand.
Thank you, Nikhil. Good morning. I'm glad to see most of you here. How many of you have re-registered? Very few. I have the numbers, so please don't tell me. We have lots of still re-registrations left. Make sure you do that today. I'd like to welcome Dr. Hastak to the campus. He also goes by the name Mark. So those who find it difficult to say Makarand Hastak, you can call him Mark. Can I share a bit of a history? If you don't mind, I won't give any years, but given our baldness, I think they can guess how old we are. Perfect. Who was that? So remind me when I'm marking your paper, okay? There was one point in time, I finished my PhD and Makarand also finished his PhD more or less at the same time. We interviewed for the same faculty position in Michigan, and the luck would have it that they liked us so much, there was only one position. They actually created two positions and gave both of us an offer. But I accepted it, but Dr. Hastak decided to go to Georgia Tech at that time. So, but we have stayed in touch for the past 20 years. And he's been a good friend and a good colleague. He's done very well, and now being the head of the construction division within civil engineering, one of the strongest construction programs, I think, in the US and also the world. For how many years now you've been the head? 8 years. He actually did his PhD from Purdue under a very well-known professor, Dr. Dan Halpin. Left for some time and then returned to take over his supervisor's role, because Dr. Halpin retired as the head. He became the head after Dr. Halpin retired. So I won't tell you any more stories. I'll stop here. Dr. Hastak, please enlighten us with your, I like the title, Profitability Analysis of Construction Companies.
Thank you, Professor Sani. Well, that was a very humbling introduction, so thank you very much. As Professor Sani mentioned, we have known each other for many, many years, and I have had the pleasure of meeting him off and on, not quite as regularly since he moved back to India. So it is indeed my pleasure, and I thank you all for inviting me here. to talk about some of the work that we are doing at Purdue University. Today I thought I'll share with you the work that we are doing in terms of profitability and how can we improve the profitability of the company. So just as the word stands is the ability to generate profit. But before I do that, let me ask you all a question. Do you know where Purdue University is?
Calumet?
Where?
Calumet?
Calumet? No. Well, that's part of Purdue, but Indiana? Okay, good. So I'm glad many of you know. Let me see if I can work this thing. There we go. So this is, of course, the map of the United States, and where we are is in a state called Indiana, so you are quite right, and in a city called West Lafayette. So it's a very small city. It's all university town, and we have it's a twin city, Lafayette on one side, West Lafayette on the other side, and a total population of about roughly 200,000 people. And on the west side, where the university is located, the population is about 55,000 people. So you can imagine that when 30,000 students leave for vacations, we have the whole city to ourselves. So very nice. So it's a good place. And here are some pictures that I thought I'll share with you. This is what you see here is the engineering quad, and this is one of the famous fountains that we have in the middle of the campus. And the tradition goes that when you graduate, you walk through the fountain. So not anymore, but through the fountain. People used to do that before. So to give you a little bit of introduction of what Purdue is all about, we have about 13 different programs of engineering within Purdue University. And as you can see, I'm of course part of construction engineering and management. We are a separate unit within College of Engineering. And I'm also a faculty on civil engineering. So I'm sort of representing 2 of those 13 different programs. But the good part is that all of these 13 are top-ranked programs in the world. So we are very, very fortunate to be associated with it. We were established about 38 years ago as a separate division of construction engineering and management. And it all started because the industry came and requested the university at that time that they needed to have a program where we generate students with special expertise in construction, engineering, and management. Students who can, right after graduation, take charge of projects, make sure after graduation, in terms of cost, schedule, risk management, safety, and so on. We have one of the largest faculty in construction engineering in the country. As you can see, we have a mixed faculty in terms of tenure track, faculty of engineering practice, and so on. The way that we are structured is that 80% of our curriculum is engineering and 20% is management program. So that's why the construction engineering and management as a combination. Our faculty, of course, have a combination of, as you saw earlier, research-based and also industry practicing faculty. We also offer minor in construction engineering and management that is available to all different students from our other areas of engineering. And this is the undergraduate program, yes, this is the undergraduate program. And one of the main things that we have, which has become a mainstay for our program, is a 12-week internship. We place all our students with industry every year that they are with us for 12 weeks during summer. So at Purdue, first-year engineering is common, so they come to professional schools only during their 2nd, 3rd, and 4th year. So they are with us for 3 years, so they will go for 3 summers to work with the company for 12 weeks each summer. And you can imagine that by the time they graduate, they all have jobs in hand because the companies know what they're capable of doing. So it's a very, the companies know in terms of placement. In terms of graduate program, we are also very well placed. Some of the peers that we count as peers would be Stanford, UIUC, Berkeley, UT Austin, and so on. And some of the So if I go to conferences and I ask people, okay, how many of you graduated from Purdue, I'll at least see, 4 or 5 hands go up, if not more. So that's always encouraging. In terms of research, our faculty are very active in research. As you can see, a number of areas are getting covered. Working in augmented reality, virtual reality, contract management, risk and international construction, dispute resolution, infrastructure management, energy efficient buildings, project management, decision making, strategic planning, and so on. So there are a lot of different areas that planning and so involved with. As was introduced before, I think Nikhil, is that the name, right? So I think Nikhil mentioned that the name of my lab is Spark. The name actually came from the students. So it was my students who decided that that's how we want to be called, because the nature of research that we do is related to profitability, so profitability and risk. So it sort of fit together, so they call it Solutions for Profitability and Assessment of Risk in Construction. So that's the reason why it's called Spark, with a C. These are C. Research areas that my group focuses in. So you can see we look into infrastructure management, housing industry, disaster risk reduction, profitability and strategic planning, international construction, and then my last bucket, I call it contemporary issues, which is that any area that is of interest is contemporary at that present time. We look into that. If it gets to be interesting, it forms a bucket on its own. If it is something that we resolve, we put it away and we move on. So we resolve, that has been very interesting. We have looked at nuclear construction in that area. We have looked at composite materials, application in construction, and so on. So this has been the progress of research in my lab over the years. But today I thought that I would talk about one aspect of it, which is profitability, and share with you what work we have done, what work is currently going on within my group. So to start with a little bit of background, which I'm sure many of you know and realize, that construction industry is very unique. We produce a unique product. Every project we say is a new project. It might be the same building, but the problems in that project are unique by themselves. So it's a unique project. We don't work with centralized production, as you would see in manufacturing. So there are, of course, instances where we have manufactured housing, and we have production lines for manufactured housing. But on a typical construction project, you would not find centralized production as you would find in manufacturing, for instance. So that creates a bit of a problem for us. Of course, we have used modularization over the years. We have used precast materials, precast panels, over the years. So there are ways of mechanizing, but it's not a nature of our business in terms of construction projects. So that is also different. We have very unique payment terms, as you know, that depends on how much progress we make. Payment are tied to that, and also depends on the type of contract and so on and so forth. We also use heavy use of subcontractors, so that in itself can go bad. If it was to go bad, ill-managed. So that creates a very unique situation of where risk is likely to emanate in a construction project. So the questions that we wanted to find out was, what is the nature of failures in construction business? Why do we fail? What happens to the profitability that our companies are capable of, but are not able to manage on a regular basis? So what are those issues? So that's really what we wanted to target. And so we said, well, we need to be able to effectively forecast the financial outcome of our projects. If I know that I have bid 5% profit in that particular project, am I really making 5%? How can I track the progress of my profit on a particular project, and also at the end of the year, whatever that fiscal year is, that how much profit did my company make? Is not only the project, but the company as a whole. And I'll explain that point just in a second. Also, the problem in our industry is because of lack of liquidity as well. Many contractors, you will find that they're working from project to project, and cash flow becomes a major issue that we need to be very careful about in how projects are going to unfold, how successful they're going to be, what type of risk you're likely to face, and so on. Another thing that I would point out is in construction projects or in construction companies, what we need to be very careful about is what are the interactions between external parties, as the owner and the financiers or the sub that we deal with, interactions within the company. Explain that point just in a second. What is the cost in a particular project? So what we did was we have this protocol that we to identify your company's profit part, and walk you through some of those steps with a little bit later. But what we do is identify what we call as cost centers. And centers are, of course, projects that you bid on, so that's going to generate profit for you. And your cost centers are supporting within your organization, your bidding department, human resources, and so on. That will become your cost centers. But the question is, are the cost centers and profit centers working effectively? So you might have bid 5 or 10% on a profit center, and it might be doing great. But if the cost center that's supposed to give you the help to make that successful, if that relationship is not good, then you may not actually be making that 5 or 10% on a particular project. So the question is, how do we find out what the reality is in a particular company? So that's what these 5 steps take you through and identify what are the different issues. So just to illustrate that point further, what you see on the screen over there is, I think I should point it here. You have the structure. I'm not sure if you can see it, but what this box here represents are all the departments or units within a company. So as I said, you could be having your accounting, your human resources, your equipment management. You could have your bidding department, your estimating department. These are all your cost centers interacting with the different projects that you have been successful in procuring. In addition to that, you could have external entities, so your financial institution that is extending the loan to you to run the projects, the owners that you're working with, the subcontractors, the suppliers, the vendors, and so on. And the figure that you see next to that is really breaking that down into what are the different cost centers and profit centers. Now, clearly, within that environment, you're going to have different type of relationships. So a cost center might relate to a cost center. Cost center would relate to a profit center. A profit center might relate to another profit center. So these are different type of relationships that you can have. So as you can see, of course, from these figures, these are all your cost centers. These are your profit centers interacting with each other. And this is a profit center interacting with cost centers, and so on. So what we wanted to do through this work was to determine that if these are the nature of relationships within your organization, how are they functioning? How effective are those relationships? And you can, I'm sure you will agree with me that if that relationship or that is not efficient, then something is going to suffer. That sufferance is going to add cost to your project. Now, if you have all done estimating or have some experience doing estimating, you know that when putting together an estimate, we make a lot of assumptions. Everything will go fine. This is the productivity we assume. This is how it is going to cost. This is how the weather is likely to be, etc., etc. We make a lot of assumptions, and we hope that those assumptions will come true when the project actually goes through the process. Now, within that, you will also agree that we probably don't say that our management is going to mess up. They're always going to make wrong decisions, right? We don't expect that. But nonetheless, decisions are made that go wrong and things don't work out the way we had planned. So the question is, how much is it impacting our profit? Are we actually making that 5% that I was talking about? So that's really what we are trying to understand through this research. So here's a little bit of unfolding of how the protocol works. Notice that these are different relationships, these are different entities that are working on a project. So this is your HR, this could be a project, accounting, equipment, and so on. This is your bidding department, design department, and so on. So the way it works is that, let's take one relationship here. So you see a 0 and a -1. So to keep it simple, a -1 indicates, that's an arrow going into this design environment, that HR did not function effectively in their relationship with the design department. So because of that, there was some issue that we need to further investigate and identify where the problem was. So this is the first set of analysis. If it is a 0, 0 indicates that everything was fine as was expected. If it were to be a plus, then plus would indicate that the relationship was much stronger or much better than what was expected at the planning stage. So that also tells you that there are some good practices